Not the kind of stained glass, not the kind in books that got inside. The one that wakes up when everything else goes quiet. The one that says stand when the knees wanna buckle. The one that says keep going when the whole world says stop. The God, the one you've been ignoring while you prayed to everything else. I used to look up for answers, I used to beg for signs, used to wait for miracles from somewhere else. Then one night I looked down at my own hands, scarred, trembling, still moving, and realized the miracle was already here. The miracle was me still breathing after everything tried to stop me. The mirror was the voice that refused to be silenced even when the throat was raw from screaming.
God doesn't speak in thunder, not for me. God speaks in the moment. I choose to stand when lying down feels like mercy. God speaks in the moment. I choose to speak when silence feels like safety. God speaks in the moment. I choose to love when hate feels justified. God speaks in the small, stubborn, unseen. Yes, that no one ever applauds, but the soul feels like thunder. God lives in the refusal to stay broken. God lives in the choice to keep loving when everything says hey. God lives in the quiet decision to keep showing up when showing up feels like defeat. God lives in the man who still believes even when belief feels like madness. God lives in the heart that keeps beating when the mind says stop. God lives in you.
Right now, in you are the only proof that God still working in this broken world. I used to think God was out there judging me. Now I know God is in here watching me judge myself and saying stop that, you're mine. I used to think God wanted perfection. Now I know God wants some presence. I used to think God wanted sacrifice. Now I know God wants surrender. Not to suffering but to the truth that I'm already enough, even when I feel like nothing. The world keeps offering false gods approval, comfort, control, escape. I bow to none of them. I bow to the God that lives in the chest of every person, still trying when trying feels futile. I bow to the God that lives in the mother who gets up again after losing everything. I bow to the God that lives in the man who forgives when revenge feels righteous. I bow to the God that lives in you when you choose love over bitterness, truth over comfort, growth over safety. I'm not waiting for God to show up. God is already here in the next breath I choose to take when every instinct says stop breathing. God is already here in the next step I choose to take when every instinct says stay down. God is already here in the next kind word I choose to speak when every instinct says lash out. God is already here in the decision to keep loving the world even when the world makes loving feel impossible. God lives in the refusal to let the dark have the last word. God lives in the choice to keep loving when everything says hey. God lives in the quiet decision to keep showing up when showing up feels like defeat. God lives in the heart that keeps beating when the mind says stop. God lives in you. Right now, and you are the only proof that God is still working in this broken world. If you're reading this and you feel the weight of everything you've carried, good. That weight is not punishment. That weight is proof you're still capable of carrying something worth carrying.